Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we're exploring a source stack that, well, it lays out this profound blueprint for living, one that's guided billions of people for centuries. We're talking about the Asmaul Husna, the most beautiful names of Allah.
And this is so much more than just a theological or academic exercise. The sources we reviewed really frame these divine attributes not as mere titles, but as a practical map.
A map.
Yeah, a robust guide for how to conduct yourself and, on a larger scale, how to achieve a kind of societal harmony. Our mission here is to really distill how understanding these names translates into, real human action.
Into ethical choices in the world we actually live in.
Exactly.
We hear that phrase, know thyself, all the time. But what the sources seem to suggest is that real self-knowledge, real moral guidance, it starts with understanding the divine. It's almost a shortcut.
It is. It's a shortcut to understanding the highest possible moral standard. The Asmaul Husna, these 99 names, are described as facets of the divine essence. They cover everything.
Everything from justice to mercy.
Right, Al and Aram. To sovereignty, Al-Malik, and wisdom, Al-Hakim. They're the foundation. But for you, the listener, the crucial part is how they offer these tangible insights into reflecting those same qualities in your own life.
So it's a dual focus.
Yeah.
You get this way to connect intellectually, spiritually with the Creator. But at the same time, it's the inspiration for your day-to-day behavior.
It's the ultimate why behind the how of being a good person.
Okay, let's unpack that. Let's go beyond personal faith and start with how this transforms an individual. What does this robust moral framework actually look like in practice?
Well, it really begins with a fundamental shift, a reorientation toward what the sources call integrity and accountability.
Okay.
So when a believer really thinks about names like Al-Hakam, the judge, or Al-Basir, the all-seeing, they get it. They understand their deeds have weight.
And not just wait in the moment for social points or whatever.
No, not at all. It's a cosmic weight. This is a huge difference from an ethical system that's just based on, not getting caught by the law.
It internalizes the whole mechanism of ethics.
It does. It moves integrity from being circumstantial to being intrinsic. You're motivated to be honest, to keep a promise, to be kind when no one's watching because you know the ultimate judge sees everything.
And that emphasis on accountability must foster a huge sense of personal responsibility.
Tremendous. And then, when you have enough people operating with that high bar of self-surveillance,
then you get positive role model.
You get a domino effect.
Yeah.
Exactly. Upholding high moral standards sets a real, achievable example for other people. It inspires the whole community, often just quietly through consistent good behavior.
And that's how individual morality starts to spill over into collective good.
That's the idea.
Okay, that's the external impact. Let's go deeper now into the inner landscape, the spiritual development. The sources describe recognizing these attributes as a powerful tool for finding inner peace.
Absolutely. Just think about names like Ar-Rahman, the most merciful, or Al-Ghafur, the forgiving. When you're facing your own failings, or just the pain that life throws at you, recognizing these attributes, it gives you immediate solace. It reframes your mistakes.
So they're not terminal failures.
No, they're opportunities. Opportunities to seek forgiveness, to grow, and that recognition just fosters this deep tranquility, this quiet confidence.
That makes perfect sense. Knowing that the ultimate being is characterized by forgiveness must be incredibly liberating. But let me push back on that for a second.
Sure.
Does this deep trust in the divine plan, especially when things are tough, ever risk becoming fatalism, passive inaction? How do the sources separate patience from just giving up?
That is a crucial point, and the sources are very clear on it. These attributes don't encourage passivity. They encourage perseverance.
Okay.
Believers draw confidence from names like Al-Wakil, the trustee, and Al-Qadir, the all-powerful. They build optimism not because bad things won't happen,
but because they trust that their effort plus that reliance serves a higher purpose.
Precisely. There's a purpose and a direction. So trust doesn't mean sitting still. It means you work as hard as you can, you make the best choice you can.
And then you trust the outcome, whether it's what you wanted or not.
Exactly. The attribute as sabur, the patient, isn't about being passive. It's about strategic endurance. Patience and resilience become active tools to overcome obstacles. Hardship leads to growth, not resignation.
That's a powerful foundation for a person's character. So if that's what's happening on the inside, how does this start to change a community? Let's move outward. Section 2, social harmony.
The shift is almost immediate. because that shared moral goal becomes the bedrock of the whole society. When everyone is aiming for the same high standard, you naturally see empathy and compassion become the norm.
I think one of the most practical examples in the sources was reflecting the name Arzak, the provider, in daily economic life.
Oh, it's vital. If a community believes that Allah is the ultimate source of all sustenance, then the idea of hoarding wealth just becomes, well, it's ethically a problem.
Right.
So encouraging kindness, generosity, that becomes a reflection of the divine's own generosity. It leads to much stronger community bonds. People are genuinely more willing to support each other because they see their own wealth as a trust.
Something to be managed, not just owned.
Exactly. It shifts the whole framework from a purely competitive mindset to a communal one. And that same logic applies to resolving conflicts.
Because you're reflecting Al-Adal, the just, and Al-Ghafur.
Al-Ghafur, you have the spiritual tools to navigate disagreements. Justice is the standard, of course, but it's critically balanced by forgiveness. The goal isn't just punishment, it's to restore harmony, to mend the relationship.
Let's talk more about that accountability piece on the community level. We mentioned that internal ethical surveillance. How does that actually show up in public?
It shows up as ethical behavior that sticks around even when the social pressure is gone.
So when no one's watching.
Right. Knowing your actions are seen by Al-Hakam and Al-Basir motivates you. You maintain your integrity in the empty marketplace just as you would in a crowded court. That internal motivation is the community's safety net.
That's the gold standard of internalized ethics, isn't it? The consistency of character.
And it leads directly to a strong duty to others. The sources really stress this. Reflecting on the divine's attributes forces you to take proactive steps for social welfare. The community is ethically bound to make sure everyone's needs are met. It's an active requirement.
Okay, now we get to the part our listeners are always asking for. The how-to. How to get from these magnificent, huge concepts to applying them in the low-level friction of daily life. Where does the rubber meet the road?
Well, it starts by accepting that spiritual growth isn't monumental, it's incremental. The sources really emphasize small acts, big impact.
It's not about waiting for a big crisis to show your courage.
Not at all. It's about the intention behind the smallest gestures.
Can you give us an example? The specific attribute in just a totally mundane setting.
Of course. Let's take Al-Halim, the forbearing one, the gentle one. You're stuck in traffic. Or you're in a slow-moving line at the store.
We've all been there.
We all have. Embodying Al-Halim means you choose gentleness and patience over frustration. That tiny choice, that micro-action, affects your inner state and how you act toward total strangers. And those intentional acts add up. They ground the philosophy.
I like that focus on the everyday moment. And it implies that this is a process of continuous growth. It's not a destination you arrive at.
Absolutely not. It's framed as a lifelong journey. Regular reflection on the attributes, maybe you pick one to focus on for a month, that encourages this constant learning. It's about always measuring your actions against that ideal.
Knowing you'll fall short, but always striving anyway.
Always striving. And this practice becomes visible through community engagement. It's not enough to just be inwardly merciful. You have to participate in activities that actively promote justice, education, welfare.
It moves the virtue from just a theory
to observable, accountable action in the world. You see the attributes made real when a community runs a free school or organizes aid for the vulnerable. That's the collective application of Al-Adal and Ar-Razak.
So let's broaden the scope. Section 3, we're talking about the universal appeal of this model. While this is all deeply rooted in Islamic tradition, these virtues, justice, forgiveness, patience, they feel fundamentally universal.
They absolutely are. And what's so fascinating is that the essence of these attributes are just shared human values. They're esteemed across pretty much every major ethical and religious system in the world.
The need for mercy, the search for justice,
the understanding of a higher power, these are constants in the human story. And that common ground is so important for meaningful interfaith dialogue.
It creates a kind of ethical common language.
It does. When we emphasize that we all value kindness and honesty, it fosters real understanding. It shows that our foundational blueprints for how to live are, surprisingly aligned. And that's essential when we face global challenges.
Because applying these principles can actually help address poverty, injustice.
You're not just talking about spiritual belief anymore. You're talking about a mechanism for real systemic change. If leaders prioritized mercy and justice over, say, ambition and greed, the potential for a more harmonious world is just exponential.
To make sure these ideas don't just stay as lofty ideals, the sources stress the need for reflection and mindfulness. How do we actually do that day to day?
It takes discipline. It means setting aside real time for regular reflection and not just, memorizing the names. It's deep contemplation. What does al-adl mean when I feel I've been wronged?
It sounds like an exercise in mindful living, being present, being intentional.
It's continuous work, and it can feel exhausting, which is why the sources point to a practical model, a living example. It's too big a task to attempt without one.
And that example, which is all over our source material, is the life of the Prophet Muhammad.
Correct. His life is the ultimate practical model. It is the embodiment of the teachings. He demonstrated mercy, justice, wisdom, and patience, not in theory, but in real, tangible ways.
In moments of victory, in tough negotiations, in profound personal loss.
All of it. So his biography provides this crucial guidance for believers. It's a living historical reference for how to apply these principles, even in the messiest, most complex situations. It takes the blueprint and shows you how to build the house.
It makes the ideal feel achievable.
Achievable, though always a challenge.
What a journey. We started with this idea of an infinite tapestry, and what we found is that understanding Allah's attributes is really an invitation to embark on this radical, transformative journey.
And that personal journey is the engine for collective advancement. As individuals embrace forbearance and justice, they contribute to their families, their communities, and societies that prioritize these values just experience greater harmony, greater well-being.
It takes this from pure theology right into applied social science. And this brings us to the big question for you, the listener, who is committed to this idea of mindful, continuous growth.
If the goal is to truly embody these ideals, consider this. Of all the attributes, forgiveness, patience, justice, all of them, which one is the most challenging for you? Not in a huge moral crisis, but in those moments of low-level daily frustration.
A frustrating coworker, a slow internet connection, an unfair comment.
The everyday friction.
So what does this all mean for you?
How does that specific everyday failure, that moment your patience snaps or self-pity wins out over justice, how does that shape your character? And where do you start reflecting the divine attribute you need most in that exact tiny moment? That's the real deep dive, something to ponder. We hope this gives you a new lens for reflection. Until next time.